Hi again then guys, and so we've got another GranTurismo 6 high-speed tune for you today, and this time it's kind of a hybrid tune between a circuit tune and a top-speed tune, because this car, as you'll have seen from the title, is the XJ220 LM Race Car. It's not the strongest of racing cars for top speed, so instead of just making it just a top-speed racer, which it's not that great at, I've made a fusion of two tuning types. So this has a good top speed for the car, but it's also a good handling tune, so that you can use it on, say, Le Mans or Route 7, or pretty much any track that needs high speed, but also requires handling. So you want racing soft tyres for the best results on top speed. I've increased the rear brake balance to 6, you don't have to do that, that's just my personal preference. For the ride height, I've got it on as low as possible on the front, 20mm higher on the back. That's to even out the height of the body, because it does naturally have its nose in the air. Now, if you put the rear as low as possible and the front as high as possible, you do get an extra, say, 2 or 3 miles per hour. But it's just not really worth it for how heavy it makes the handling and how stupid the car looks. So you have to decide whether you need that or not. As far as the springs, we've reduced them down to 1650 and 2225, dampers and anti-roll to 4, camber on 2.5 with neutral toe. For the gearbox, we've got an auto setting of 249, then for the individual gears we've got 3.7, 2225, 1525, 1125 and 875 with a final drive of 2.6. Lowest initial torque to reduce wheel spin as always, high acceleration and a braking sensitivity of 10. High RPM turbo, obviously, and your downforce, as always, I would recommend putting to a minimum. Traction control, I would also always recommend turning off. And like I said, this isn't the strongest of top speed cars as far as racing cars go, but funnily enough, neither is the road version, unfortunately. The road-going XJ220 is slightly quicker for top speed, but not by much. It still only cruises at around the mid-250s to mid-260s, depending on how you set it up. This car cruises at just under 250, it's actually 249. For some strange reason though, it's actually faster on the corner than it is on the straight. You can get it up to around 253 on the corner, but for some weird reason it only does 249 on the straights. Acceleration-wise, it is, I believe, faster than the road version. That's not including NOS, obviously, which this car doesn't have. But the biggest advantage that this car has over the road version is the handling. Because the road-going XJ220 has very good handling around the track, but awful handling at high speed. It starts to weave all over the road, kind of like a GT by Citroën. Not quite as bad as that, but similar thing. This car doesn't do that at all. You can move around on the track and it doesn't weave. You bring it to a straight line and it just holds it. It doesn't weave at all, which is great. It's a good thing to have in a racing car. You don't want it to be weaving all over the place. As far as draft potential, like I said, this is just a top speed tune for the car on its own. This isn't designed for draft racing at all. This is just designed for tracks where you need that kind of top speed, primarily when you're up against other racing cars like GT1 cars, GT2s, GT3s, or even JGTC cars. If you do need it to do more speed under draft, then obviously just lower the final drive a bit more than I have, but that will of course affect your cruising speed. As far as handling, it's great. I already said it's better than the road version, and that's an understatement. This is actually, I would say, one of the best handling racing cars in the game. It's fantastic around corners, composes itself extremely well even at high speed. As you can see, the weird thing that happens with top speed is happening at the moment. Top speed increases on the corner for some weird reason. And one of the best things I would say about this car is how good the handling is even with minimal downforce, which is good to know because sometimes it helps to have low downforce on, say, the Le Mans or tracks like that where you don't really want to sacrifice too much speed for the sake of handling. So if you haven't tried out the XJ220 LM, I would actually recommend that you give it a go, because it's a genuinely competitive and rarely used alternative to the more mainstream models. As far as how competitive it is, it's a bit quicker than the Lister Storm, but not necessarily as quick as, say, the CLK LM or the Panos. So that's pretty much where it sits compared to more mainstream rivals. It's around the same kind of top speed, a little bit quicker than the Gillette Vertigo. So it sits pretty well, especially for a non-premium model. So like I said, if you haven't tried the car, I would strongly recommend that you give it a go, because it's really, really good. And if you're new to the channel, or just found this helpful in general, feel free to slap that subscribe button if this interests you and you'd like to get these tunes as soon as they come out. And as always, thanks for watching.